But back to what we're talking about here.
Getting back to the poor Count, from whom we seem to drift with great ease and aplomb.
That's okay. We can do whatever we want.
Oh my goodness, we're so great that way. So, but like in terms of acting, there were no actors in the second version that I thought harmed the narrative.
Nobody was weak. That's saying something, because we've been able to find a lot of really weak people in some of these movies. But there was really not anything very weak about it.
The only one who didn't really bring a lot was Henry Cavill himself as Albert. But then this is like his first role. So
yeah, he's like 16.
You know what? Here's the thing. Okay, so we're trying to get in. Dantès is trying to get in with the Mondegos, and he's invited to that dinner, and he's sitting right across from Mercedes, and what's his face is off messing about.
Well, he got pulled away because he's talking to the magistrate about the gold shipment.
So he's not there to offer the toast to his son on his birthday.
Right.
So the mother's going to do it, and Dante stands up and gives that toast, which is
great toast.
Absolutely one of the best speeches in the whole film.
Then he curls his hair.
Masterclass. And you know what it also is? Think of this. Caviezel, at that point, a relatively experienced actor, along with
he's very young.
Pearce. And then Cavill, very Cavill in the sense of the word, meaning young, inexperienced.
Yep.
And so the actor speaking to the actor, as well as the character speaking to the character. It's great advice both ways.
Yeah.
Bring your best. So he should say, they bring their worst, you bring their best.
Right.
That would have been the ne plus ultra to make that speech epical. But as it was still fantastic, and it was a wonderful moment to watch an actor on camera get an acting class. Oh, it was a thing of beauty, in my humble opinion. It was one of there's a lot of stuff to love in the second version.
So here we are again, Paul. Another one of our deep dives, talking about the Count of Monte Cristo. No, I mean Cristo. Count
of Monte Christine.
I think this was made in 1975.
Correctamundo.
And that's 1 year after I was born.
Holy mackerel.
Isn't
I remember seeing it on TV at the time. So, of course, I was 21 when it came out. So I was old enough to watch TV, and everything was cool.
Well, this is definitely on my high-end list of entertainment. Another one of those staples that I had seen many times on TV, the Richard Chamberlain version.
Yep.
And I think that Richard Chamberlain he did an incredible job in that version. Danglars. Who did you say that you said was kind of weak?
Tony Curtis playing.
Yeah, Tony Curtis was weak. I totally agree.
Fernand, whatever his name was, the super bad guy.
Now there's one person that didn't make it into the next. There's another main character of the bad guys that didn't make it. Catarus. He was not there. Right.
Cabarrus.
Catarus, I think.
Well,
Cabarrus. Okay.
They melded him with Danglars or whatever his name was.
Oh, in the next one, they did Danglars and him together.
They just put the two characters together.
Okay.
He was a little bit redundant in the first movie.
Well, I liked the Danglars and the guy, especially the actor playing Danglars in the first one.
Wasn't it Donald Pleasance?
Yeah, he just did a great job. Like, he's just so good, right? He's amazing.
Well, yeah. Okay, what performance did Donald Pleasance ever give that you weren't going, I can deal with that?
He might have been one of the strongest people in that TV rendition.
Absolutely. Well, he did it almost. You could almost see him going, I'm just phoning this in, but this is all this needs. I'm bringing in what I need to, and I can do more, but that doesn't require it. So thanks for the paycheck. I'm moving on. And
Yeah.
he did exactly what was required, precisely what was required.
So
Talk about artistry.
what did you? So the 1975 Richard Chamberlain version, made for TV, filmed, aired on NBC. It was directed by David Green.
I don't know anything about him.
Stars Richard Chamberlain and as Edmond Dantès, and it's more faithful. A lot of people agree out there that it is more faithful to the Dumas original novel.
Right.
And it runs 100 minutes long.
The deal is that what it was, remember, it was brought out in an era where Christian morals and ethics were still pretty operative.
Yes.
In entertainment. So the notion of mercy and forgiveness and restraint were still very valid concepts in these kinds of shows. And the whole thing has a level of restraint and elegance.
You're talking about the 1975 version?
Absolutely. Totally appreciated.
So you're saying it's less emphasized and it's like a traditional villain, more refined, literary, poetic portrayal. Is that what you're saying?
More the revenge was more exquisite, and it was in a sense sort of invisible. Those people collapsed, and to the outside eye, they'd have never figured out what was going on.
And that's what I loved about it. He actually tried, in a way, it seems as if he is, and I bet if we read the book, through, which is, I'm definitely going to hit that one of these days. It's just a big monster, but I'm going to do it.
Wow. Good for you.
But what I saw in the Richard Chamberlain 1975 version is they did more to show you all of the work that he did setting up each one of these things and giving them enough rope to hang themselves, kind of.
Right.
So he's trying not to take revenge to a certain extent. He wanted justice.
And if they destroyed themselves, well, that would be that's what happens when you decide, oh, I'm going to be evil and I don't care. I'm going to get away with that. Well, yeah, right, sure, fine. Let's see how that works.
He has that one scene where he's like, I'm talking about a holy remedy. An eye for an eye.
It was, and his performance was,
I lost you. Hold on a second.
Yeah, I don't see my image.
I don't know why.
Well, there I am.
I don't know why.
You can blank me. I can be a radio show. It's fine. You got a radio face, so it's all good.
I minimized your window and it took you away.
Away I went.
Sorry.
Did you hear me?
We could hear it. Yeah, the audio is still there, so no big
that's
deal.
All that matters.
Let's keep moving.
His performance really played to the mystery of the Count. Who is this guy? He's coming from nowhere. What?
Who are you, Monte Cristo?
Yeah, exactly.
Who are you?
Yes. Well, it doesn't help for them to get. Of course, they were so stunned that they were being taken so easily. I mean, they fell into his traps like they were jumping into them. It was kind of funny, really. And he played right to their weaknesses.
And how he spends.
Yeah, well, it wasn't until the second movie that we saw exactly how much the fortune actually was it? So in the first movie, the amount of money is implied.
Oh, and it's more than anything. If back in those days he's opening a 5 million account for 5 million.
5 million francs. Yeah, that was a piece of change back then. But it wasn't. But that
he almost choked on himself.
Well, the deal is even then francs compared to dollars, or better yet, pound sterling, was still a weak currency relative to, and British. The pound sterling was the envy of the financial world at that time. In what we're talking 1815 to 1835. And it was another thing I loved about the 75 version was how careful they were to count the years and to make clear exactly how much time it took him to escape, to build himself up, to do all this.
We definitely see how many years he was in the Chateau d'If in the second one. But yeah, you're right. They did way more of the setup, because in the next one, which I really enjoy the Caviezel version. Don't get me wrong, but this one was
dignified. It was dignified, and this one, and I loved the dignity that they brought to the story. They respected it. They said, we're going to convey the story so it doesn't die. I mean, we're going to keep this classic alive. It was in 1846, I think, is when Dumas wrote it or published it.
You have been my secret embarrassment.
So I really liked how it just went through the paces. We didn't.
So is that your first time seeing the Chamberlain version?
It's been too many years for me to remember much of it.
Yeah,
it's been at least. I mean, I think I saw it on NBC when it first came out, and I don't believe I've seen it since. So that's 50 years.
Right.
So it's been, but I completely enjoyed it from start to finish. Especially loved Trevor Howard as, I think that's the guy's name, who played Abbe Faria. He was especially good. But then Richard Harris was also especially good in the second one. So
and how amazing they, and it's like Providence. He really thinks he's being like the arm of God, like he's meant to do justice for these people. He says, like, I am justice, I am the arm of God type of thing.
But they really lean into that in the second one. They kind of danced around it in the first one a little bit, and just saying he's just paying them back as they paid to him. And so that the justice is taking away from them all the things that they consider worthwhile, and then because he doesn't claim anything of theirs.
And based on, you're right, and based on what we've seen here, it seems as if Dumas is trying to convey here in this story that you shouldn't want this revenge. This is not
right. That's exactly. Thing. Oh, absolutely, 100%. That is exactly what Dumas is saying, in my humble opinion.
Yeah,
because that was how the story ends. And the only thing that we're missing in the first one is that he does not explicitly pay off on the oath that he made to the Abbe. So,
he says, I promise. He said when he found the treasure, I promise to build your churches, your hospitals, your all these things.
Yeah, but he never
all in your name. Well, he does do that because before he ever comes there, what I understand about the story is that that's what he's doing when he's doing all the research and building up his fortune and going all over the place, all over the world. He's doing these good works. He's opening these orphanages. I think that's where he kind of finds out about that child and stuff like that, where he that was buried.
But that's in the book, right? That's in the IP.
Yeah. From what I know from it.
Didn't bother to. They only reference it in either when the second version, of course. There's a little more, it leans in a little bit, but in the first one, they do kind of go, I'm going to do that. I'm going to fulfill it. And then that's the last you hear of it.
What I didn't like about this one in the 75 was Jacopo and the other pirate. They got this teeny little ship. They're smuggling on this teeny little dinghy. This ship didn't have any.
We'll get to that. Yeah, we'll get to that in the other version too.
What are they smuggling? No, but in the other version, it's a bigger ship. It makes more sense.
It's not really.
Oh, it's much bigger. It had a berth. It had an underbelly. They could go down below and everything. That was a much bigger ship. The other one is just a rowboat almost. I mean, it was
that's like, what. Yeah. Well, again, we only saw one chest full of jewels and pearls and stuff. Remember?
In the first one.
In the first one, just.
But the next one, they had. And there are 8 more boatloads down there.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he basically was now the rival for.
I like Jacopo in the second one better than the first one.
Well, sticking to the first one, they just used, as I was saying, they went through the paces of the film, of the book, and so the two. Jacopo and Luigi, I think. Is that what the other name was?
Yeah, they're just kind of doing mountaintop things.
Their convenience to get the treasure to land, and that's the end of them, and they're not involved. So, but we track him throughout it. I get the impression that whoever was paying for this was intent on saying, we're going to get this done for $1 million, And that's the end of that. So
Right.
if you want anything more, forget it, because it's not happening. Because they really were. It was almost cheap looking. In
Which
fact,
are we talking the 75?
yes, we are.
Okay.
And I'm sticking with that. I want to do that completely, and then we can move to the second
Well,
one.
we agree. Look,
Power
we agree.
Contract.
It's made on a square, made for TV. You
Mhm.
know, people are watching them on small screens. You know, that's back when they always had stump doubles that if you had blown it up really big, you could tell
Right.
that it was a different person.
16 by 9, yeah, the usual TV
The
format.
Ave Faria in the 1975, played by his name is Trevor Howard, the guy who plays him.
Right, and if memory serves, he was a major British actor in most of the
he's great.
war films of like from 1955 to 1970. I mean, he was in all of them.
Well, he did a great job.
The Bridge of Remagen, the Guns of Navarone, Tobruk, A Bridge Too Far. He was in all that stuff. He was in The Longest Day. So
yeah, he was like I love that movie. He was like a wise, fatherly mentor.
Right. He was normally he played a colonel or a second in command or a lieutenant, you know, like a major general who was commanding like a regiment or something, but never like an Eisenhower or a Patton. He never went there.
And I also thought I thought that Mercedes' portrayal of that Mercedes, very romanticized, idealized version. I thought it fit well within the TV rendition.
Yeah. Also, he doesn't win her in the end.
No, that's more clear. That is definitely much closer to the source material, according to everyone out there making comments about that particular point.
And it's better that way because they really, when we get to the second one, we'll talk about how they made all that work the other direction.
Right.
But in this case, there was no motivation for him to even be thinking more of her than, well, how nice of you to just go with my worst enemy and have a kid by him and all this stuff, you know?
Yeah.
There was no redeeming there was in a sense, and the interesting thing was for me that all of these villains were not completely evil. They were bad to him, but they weren't necessarily thoroughgoing villains all around. As far as we know,
no, they were actually looking at it legitimately.
Was probably a pretty decent chief prosecutor as a rule.
Well, and it was legit. He's trying to like free himself from the old regime.
Right.
You know, and being a Bonapartist, I mean, you just happen to be on the wrong side of history. You know,
and all of a sudden you were on the right side of history,
exactly.
But then he was in deep, right? So,
you know, you have right, and then so they're, you know, the worst one is Mondego, and his just jealousy is really the worst aspect.
Yeah, he's the worst.
Yeah,
he's the worst. And it was
not only the worst in his situation, but the worst in acting too.
Well, yeah, Tony Curtis. So, you know, I don't even know why they gave him the job. I really would have hired just about anybody else to play Mondego. I don't know if Raul Julia was old enough to play that role then, but he would have been a perfect Mondego,
right,
in his time. That's how I visualize Mondego as a rule. But the thing, of course, with Mondego is it was pure envy and pure greed. Yeah. He wanted Mercedes, and he was willing to do anything to get her, and he had no other motivation, really. So all of his other accomplishments are simply secondary to the fact that now he has Dante's girl, and so now he can live with himself. And that's a pretty horrible way to go through life, as far as I'm concerned. And he deserves everything he gets. But again, now I'm trying to remember what his trap was, because I remember
Mondego. His trap was so the trap was the woman that he bedded. He was in his infidelity, same thing. He had an infidelity situation, but the woman died in childbirth, and he went and buried the child in the yard.
And he found the child. That's right. And he brought the child into
servant,
the meeting. I remember.
The servant witnessed him burying the child, and saved the child. Was buried alive in the back of the house. And he didn't tell anyone. And the
beauty of it was that they had him, the servant became part of the Count's household, and we weren't really told what his significance was until all of a sudden it pops up. Yeah, this is the guy that
the Count of Cavalcante. The Count of Cavalcante. That's what he. Yeah. And he's like, I spend a lot of money, of course.
Yeah, it's not a but he's not a Cavalcante.
Please continue. I find my life very interesting.
Oh, it was a very enjoyable version of what is a very fun story.
Great stuff. Stage-like, but it was, definitely stage-like sets because it's TV. We got lower budget visuals, and then we had real European locations, so that added some validity
You don't think they were real locations? I thought the film was made in
Italy. We did. I'm saying there are lots of low budget sets, but there were low budget visuals. I'm not saying that but they had European locations. When they were outside, they were in Europe, so that was good. That was
right. Fun. The French countryside, especially down in the area outside Marseille, which is pretty nice down there, down the Loire. So, it was successful. I actually strongly recommend that to kids to watch.
Wonderful. That is a great family film.
Yeah, from 10 to 20, it just absolutely.
I brought my kids were riveted. All my kids, my young ones, they were even just like, wow, what's going to happen? They were totally sucked in.
Brilliant.
And they liked it. It was good family fun.
It is. It was kind of that was a golden era for that kind of project. And of course, Richard Chamberlain made a whole career out of that kind of project. We can count Shogun in that crew.
Oh, Shogun. Yeah, and I definitely want to do this again with Shogun because we have the miniseries TV.
Right, we have two versions now.
Chamberlain from around the same time, 78 or something like something.
I thought 80, but yeah.
It might be 80, but it's somewhere around the same time. And then you had this new version, which you probably haven't seen yet,
I have.
Is really good.
That's what I've heard, and the reason I hesitate is I remember that the original managed to be pretty doggone bloody, and I went, and that was then, and they only dial that up now. I'm not sure.
It's not as bad as you think. The more the subject matter is mature, and so it's mature. It's a mature release. This was a mature release. The other one was a made-for-TV release, but this mature release, of course, if you read now there's a book I have read. And
I've read it too, actually.
The Shogun book, if you remember, there was a lot of the prostitution and what goes on in the prostitution houses and what goes on in that kind of part of the Asian mindset of that in the Edo period.
So we'll get into, because there's all kinds of Christian information to get into that too.
And I think that's definitely one we got to put on the list out there.
Absolutely. I think that's fine. We might be able to do that episode by episode kind of thing, like we're thinking maybe of doing with Lost.
Yeah. So what can we do with, are we done with the 1975 Monte Cristo version? You want to move on to the next one? Okay.
I think we've covered the original. Now we'll move to the 2002 version, which is Jim Caviezel and Guy Pearce and Henry Cavill, and then a large number of actors whose names I don't recall. But in this case, I found it to be an earthier version than the first one.
Yeah, this was directed by Kevin Reynolds.
Yes, and he actually has a resume that I was following. He's done some good work. So he was a competent director, and he does good work here. This is it's some weird camera angles where you're watching from the level of the action, and all of a sudden you're looking straight down on it.
Right.
So there's that has a kind of disorienting feel. I understood once I got into the shot and I was watching it play out. I went, oh, I get why this is doing this. So the idea being that we're trying to focus on like the predator and the prey idea. That's where he generally used that element, that the predator was entering the frame and the prey was sitting there to be devoured. and like he used it in the interview with Villefort right off the top.
De V4. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So and they'd use that several times with exactly that impression. So it became a trope during the course of the film.
Right. This one is Jim Caviezel as Dantès, and then Fernando Mondego. Here we got a much better Mondego, which
he was perfect.
Guy Pearce did wonderful at.
He was so good as Mondego.
Now this is
one scene where he's arguing with Mercedes.
Right.
Remember, they got the paperwork in front of him, and he realizes he's going bankrupt, and he can't figure out why.
She's interrupting
him. Oh, that was such a great scene. Oh, that was so well acted. He was perfect.
And this is very loosely based on the novel.
I mean, the whole thing about the cave-in to kill the Abbé, for example.
Mm-hmm.
The Jacopo becoming his best man because he wins him in a sword fight and he doesn't kill him, which was a cool thing.
You talking about Jacopo?
Right, Jacopo. What did I say?
I don't know. I don't know what you said.
But Jacopo, and that also that Guzman, the actor who plays him, I've seen him in all kinds of stuff. He plays that character perfectly. He's got a beautiful lane where he plays that kind of character. He can play it for good and he can play it for bad, and it works either way. And
I actually think that Dante's character in this is much more grounded in, like, he's definitely more vengeful, but he's he's showing more emotion, and it's not this silent kind of like internal thing. It's more external.
The thing that I noticed most important was that Chamberlain played Dantès as a nominally godly man under the Abbé's influence.
Yes.
Whereas Caviezel played Dante as reacting against godliness, saying, God isn't around. I'm going to have to do all this because God doesn't even care.
Well, so and I might have a different take, because I really felt that when he first comes into the jail believing, and he makes a statement of believing in God, and God sees everything.
He's carving that,
and he's doing it for years.
Right.
Now,
I know.
It's just a man who has fallen away from his belief in God. And that's when God answers his prayer and brings him to Abbey.
Absolutely. And they did a great job in the second one, which the first one kind of avoided a little bit. They set up his character for all of the things he had to know and learn how to do, including
the mathematics and teaching and the sword fighting and
you know what I was trying to figure out? Where did he get those books? How did the Abbé get those books?
They let him have books.
Did they really?
Yeah, they were letting him have books. He obviously.
Well, that's great, but I was kind of.
It is. You're right. That's a good point. That's a really good point.
He got a table and chair, and so I knew that in the first one they made the point of him making all of his stuff, and I went, where did he get the wood to make it?
Oh no, he made the chair and he made the table.
In both versions?
Yep.
Well, wow, Abbé. Of course, in the second one, they also made the point that he was a soldier. And remember that whole incident with the church?
Yep. He burned all those people.
Yeah. So he's in, and again, now we're talking about the Abbé going, I am now in repentance for all. And of course, repentance is what you need to do in order to make your life right. Mm-hmm. And so that I love that element of the second, that they really pushed that forward in his character, and it really seasons what.
I think he's way more eccentric and witty than the other guy.
Well, it's Richard Harris.
Yeah, well, he just blows me away. I love Richard Harris.
This was the year before he took on Dumbledore, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, he actually, he's always been great. You know me and the whole Molly Maguires, and when he was back with Sean Connery back a million years ago.
Right.
The minor thing, how great he was and how good he was in Hawaii. And oh my goodness, he was trying to think of there was a Man Called Horse.
Oh yeah.
Dude was just fantastic actor. Great Christian too. Great. He played St. John in a St. John the Divine.
Well, he was also Abraham in that really great made for TV. That was amazing.
He just does so well. And in this, he really brought.
I loved him in Gladiator, man. I just love him.
Yeah, well, Gladiator. You sure? What did he play in Gladiator?
He was the emperor that dies in the beginning.
Oh, he plays Marcus Aurelius, right?
Yep,
exactly.
Marcus Aurelius.
Yeah, that film was completely bonkers for history, but
Oh yeah, of course.
it was a fun film to watch. And
The
Oliver
older I
Reed,
get, the less I
basketball,
like Ridley Scott movies.
mostly.
Yeah.
I liked Thelma and Louise. I liked Alien. I liked Aliens.
Alien is great.
Now
Alien
it's
is good.
James
And I
Cameron.
did like his redos. And I
Oh,
do
Prometheus?
recommend those. Prometheus and Alien Covenant are good films.
That's what you. So
It's
maybe
good.
I'll give them a
Good
try.
sci-fi horror.
So they got one. There was one that just. Oh no, they're saying this new one is just an absolute atrocity. This new Alien film.
No, it's not bad. It's not bad.
Oh, you've
It's
seen
just all a bunch of it's just got a bunch of new faces, and it's a young. It's not an atrocity, that's for sure.
it? And so in a sense, then the best you could say is same old, same old.
It's about as good as
it's just a bunch of people getting killed.
probably as it might be as good as 4.
Well,
Alien
that's not
4.
saying a lot.
I liked Alien 4. I like it.
So,
But
getting
back to what we're talking about here.
getting back to the poor Count, from whom we seem to drift with great ease and aplomb.
That's okay. We can do whatever we want.
Oh my goodness, we're so great that way. So, but like in terms of acting, there were no actors in the second version that I thought harmed the
Yeah,
narrative.
nobody was weak. That's saying something, because we've been able to find a lot of really weak people in some of these movies. But there was really not anything very weak about it.
The only one who didn't really bring a lot was Henry Cavill himself as Albert. But then this is like his first role. So
yeah, he's like 16.
You know what? Here's the thing. Okay, so we're trying to get in. Dantès is trying to get in with the Mondegos, and he's invited to that dinner, and he's sitting right across from Mercedes, and and what's his face is off messing about.
Well, he got pulled away because he's talking to the magistrate about the gold shipment.
So he's not there to offer the toast to his son on his birthday.
Right.
So the mother's going to do it, and Dantès stands up and gives that toast, which is
great toast.
Absolutely one of the best speeches in the whole film.
Then he curls his hair.
Masterclass. And you know what it also is? Think of this. Caviezel, at that point, a relatively experienced actor, along with
he's very young.
Pearce. And then Cavill, very Cavill in the sense of the word, meaning young, inexperienced.
Yep.
And so the actor speaking to the actor as well as the character speaking to the character. It's great advice both ways.
Yeah.
Bring your best. And so he should say they bring their worst, you bring their best.
Right.
That would have been the ne plus ultra to make that speech epical. But as it was still fantastic, and it was a wonderful moment to watch an actor on camera get an acting class. Oh, it was a thing of beauty, in my humble opinion. It was there's a lot of stuff to love in the second version.
I love the foreshadowing, real quick. I love the foreshadowing of Mondego when he first meets her out at the rock, when, not Mondego, Edmond Dantès, when he first meets her out there on the rocks, he curls his hair.
Yeah.
That's the first foreshadowing of him doing it.
I noticed that and I went, uh-oh, she recognized him. Okay, I hope this works out. Because at that point, and the nice part is, one is not entirely clear about her loyalties at that moment.
Right.
So finally there was a little bit of dramatic tension, because mostly we're watching him play it out and he's not really getting any impediment. But here she could really mess him up.
He also curls his hair one more time, and that's why I was pointing out this foreshadowing of the cinematography and the direction.
That's what I'm playing to. When I saw it the second time, I went, oh my goodness.
Oh no, that's not the second time. He didn't let me tell the second time. The second time is in the Shadow d'If, and he's just there. He's just thinking of the past, and he curls his hair.
Long hair, and he's just because and then we watch him cut it, and that was so. Well, you'd think that would go away, but then I guess it's the third time to which I'm referring.
Exactly.
When she sees him but then of course the reveal of she's still wearing the little band that she made to say this will never leave my finger.
Yeah, and here's the main difference that departs from the book and the 75 version. which there's an old like 1930 something version.
Yes, there is.
And there's a new mini series that just came out last year that's actually pretty good. And then now there's another new one that just came out that's French. That's in French. So that might be good in subtitles. We'll have to check that out.
Could be. The French have tended not to go stupid like we have.
We'll see.
But they also make pretty dark films. They don't mind going for the dark. But the deal was, of course, that she's still in love with him and she's happy to leave Mondego, which was not the case in the original.
Right. Well, they make it very clear, and you hate Mondego so much. He has so much infidelity. He's killing guys, that are throwing the gauntlet at him. He just kills them.
Well, that was the other thing. He kills Villefort's father, the one who was the Bonapartist.
Oh yeah.
Shoots him in the street.
I wonder if that was in the book.
Murdered. I don't know, but it seemed that they were doing everything. In this case, remember I said about the first one that the characters,
they kept them kind of clean,
were a little bit balanced. They weren't, but Guy Pearce played Mondego as just evil right to his toenails. Everything is about him is he does evil for fun.
Yeah.
And carelessly, that scene on the staircase where he's going, well, I guess I don't have to worry about this anymore.
I like his dirty teeth.
That was awesome. That would have been a thing at the time too. But that lack of balance meant that we had no difficulty saying who was the good guy and who's the bad guy. Mm-hmm. So we lost a little bit of the tension between, well, okay, who is going to turn out to be the good guy in this? And I kind of missed that a little bit, but I enjoyed Guy Pearce's performance so much. After a while, I didn't care.
What do you think of the musical scores?
Oh, both fantastic.
Yeah, I think they're both good.
Absolutely not intrusive.
There's no credit on the first one. They didn't put any credit to the first one, but Edward Schirmer. Schirmer, is that how you say that? Shearmur. Schirmer?
That would, who knows? Okay. I mean, that sounds like a random.
I don't know who it is, but I like the music. It was good.
Yeah, I liked it. No, it was fun. And the key for me is, do I remember it? And the answer is not on first viewing. Maybe if I saw it a second time, I might. Because that was the case in Lord of the Rings. When I walked out of the Fellowship of the Ring, I said to myself, was there a musical score?
That's a testament to how good it is, though.
That's what I'm saying. If you don't notice the music, then it's perfect. Because it's supposed to emphasize the emotional content of the scenes, not take over the movie.
That's right.
And so sometimes, like in movies John Williams did, you're listening for the score. You're not actually watching the movie anymore.
I was watching E.T., the beginning of opening E.T. the other day. I didn't finish the movie, but I just started watching the beginning of it. And the music, I thought it was if I wasn't watching the movie, I would have thought it was Raiders of the Lost Ark. So I can't remember what we were going to do next.
I have no idea. We were thinking of Lost as a side gig, but I don't think
we're going to add Lost as one episode at the end of our double movie thing, right? We were just going to talk about that episode of Lost that we watched or whatever. Right.
That was the plan anyway.
But there was another two movie things that we were going to watch, I think.
I'm sure we that's the problem with us. We keep going blurt.
It's okay.
And, we forget.
We'll figure it out.
So we'll think of something.
I'll see you Sunday at church.
Yeah, that's true. Church is happening. God willing, and the creek don't rise like it did in Texas.
Well, let's wrap it up. I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. I know we get off a little bit towards the end there and go off on tangents, but if you find it interesting and you enjoyed and you made it all the way, please give us a like and a subscribe. And please comment down below so that we can hear what you have to say.
Man, what we're probably going to do, what my buddy Jesse here is probably going to do is hopefully he'll cut a couple of minute clips out of it, and then I'll be sure to share them, and we'll both share them on our Facebook and YouTube pages, because there's always some little things we can say, and then you go, oh, I want to go watch the whole thing. Good. Here's the link.
Yeah, so I'll do a bunch of little shorts out of this.
Watch for the clips also.
Thanks again, everybody.
Thank you, Jesse. Good times.